My name is Shang-Chi.
Sean.
It's S-H-A-N-G. Shang.
Sean.
I'm sorry. Are you still talking?
I'm still going.
Be the first to get your tickets to Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13.
Mike Greenberg. Greeny.
Is it weird that Adam asked LeBron his thoughts about the play-in tournament and said he's open to tinkering after a full season? For example, can you picture Roger saying in a press conference, I was talking to Tom Brady about the 2-week break between the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and I'm open to tinkering with it. I can't picture that. That's a conversation that will never take place.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And watch exclusively on ESPN+.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him up.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
A week from today, we will be talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes being 1-0 to start the season. Happy Friday, everybody. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. I hope everyone's had a great week, and I can't believe tonight's already week 2 of the high school football season, Kev. College football technically kicks off this weekend, but Buckeyes kick off next week. NFL 2 weeks from now, and then we will fully be entrenched in the best time of the year because you got the Reds right now who are making it interesting. They're in the playoffs right now, so we're talking about the Reds in the playoffs, week 2 of the high school football season, Ohio State kicking off in a week, the NFL in 2 weeks. Everything's golden. Everything is golden. By the way, NBA camp, training camp or whatever, that starts next month.
Already.
So, everything's overlapping. NHL, for you NHL fans out there, it's pretty cool. High school sports, back in full swing right now. Not just football, of course, because we have a habit of just giving them the attention, but volleyball and everything else is going on, too. So, shout out to all athletes out there. And again, happy Friday. Kev, how was your day off yesterday? Day off. Your day off.
Well, I was here earlier than normal, with prize pickup time being a little different than it's normally been since, we're still working with a staggered shift here at the building. Got here about 8 yesterday. Even though we didn't have a show, I was still here till 6. So got here a little bit earlier than normal, but it's all good.
Well, we're off and rolling.
You weren't expecting that one, are you?
So we got plenty to dive into today. The Cincinnati Bengals announced earlier in the week that Joe Burrow would be getting some snaps in their preseason finale. The preseason finale will actually be Joe Burrow's preseason debut, which is pretty interesting at that. Baker Mayfield and quite a few Browns starters will also get some snaps as well in the Browns' final preseason game this weekend. My big thing is this. If we only see them play 2 or 3 plays, it's like, what was the point? So if you're going to play them, like not 4 quarters, not even for a full half, but let them get a full quarter in because, look, bottom line is injuries happen in football. Let them play. Let them play the first quarter. Let's get some true snaps and get a true feel. I just don't see the benefit of having Burrow go out there, a couple handoffs and a short little screen pass, and then calling it a day. I don't know what he gains from that. Maybe there's something to be gained there. I don't know. I just don't see it. It is what it is. But you don't want him in there late in the game because then you run into a bunch of muncies, a bunch of backups and nobody. So I'm just saying. So it is what it is. But.
Yeah, I'm with you. For any type of quarterback that's going to be a franchise quarterback who really doesn't have anything to prove, quote unquote, they need to be out there with the starting offensive line for sure. And they need to be protected. And, a series or 2. Nothing major. I know a lot of teams out there. Like the Kansas City Chiefs, like they were working on their 2-minute offense, like to start the game. Like they were like, all right, let's treat this like we need to score a touchdown. They were running out there with their 2-minute offense off the rip. They're practicing certain things, but a guy like Burrow, who's coming off a major injury, they don't need to be doing that. They need to save all that type of stuff for the real game. So, a couple handoffs, maybe a series or 2 and call it a day. Let them get a couple reps back there and everything like that. Same thing goes for the Browns as well. I heard that Baker's going to be out there and select starters for the Browns and everything like that. Well, the starters that definitely need to be out there for the Browns, if Baker's going to be out there, is the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? I don't ever want to see a starting quarterback out there with backup offensive linemen. Because
never mind.
Because the other team, who knows what that other team is doing? The other team might be mailing it in the last preseason game and having out there nothing but guys that are potentially going to get cut or only make the practice squad. And there could be a guy out there trying to make a name for himself going up against a backup, and something bad happens to your starting quarterback, and nobody wants to see any player get injured in the preseason.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kevin Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. And, and that's going to be the thing. And this is why I also hate that they cut the preseason down to 3 games instead of 4. They didn't shorten the preseason. They shortened the amount of preseason games, because now we're going to go into this lull. Luckily, college football is going to kind of carry us over the next 2, not really carry us. Like there's, what I mean? Like it's going to carry our football interest for the next 2 weeks while we wait for kickoff here in 2 weeks. But after the preseason games this weekend, 2 weeks off. Next week, they're going to, I guess the way all teams are treating next week is like a bye week. There's going to be like 3 days off where there's no practices. It's like Bengals OTAs. I mean, they're going to be doing nothing. So it's just going to be a little pause in the action. And then they kind of hit the ground running the following week, because that's that's game week. That's game prep week. So technically it's going to feel like 1 week off. That week leading into week 1 is going to feel like, your typical build up to the game and stuff. And of course, you have the Bengals at the Vikings to kick off the season, and then you have the Browns and the Chiefs. And those are going to be the 2 matchups that we really kind of ramp up for coming up. My big thing is this: the preseason, I just hope that, I want to see him get some snaps this weekend. I just don't want to see any snaps within legs, fingers, bones, anything.
Right.
Get through it, be healthy. I think it sucks to get injured at any point throughout preseason, but there's nothing more devastating than the final preseason game to lose a key contributor to what should be a great season. That's just that's man, that makes your stomach turn.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm hoping for, is to get this close. You've made it this long without playing him. You might as well just finish out without playing him. But if you're going to play him, don't just throw him out there for 3 plays. I just feel like that's a waste of everybody's time. But rosters have to be cut down by August 31st, which is what is today anyways, the 27th?
Yep.
So just a few days from now. So again, they'll have those answers pretty much after all these preseason games wrap up. And then there's going to be a lot of bodies out there looking for jobs. So
right.
So we'll see.
And there's going to be big names. There's always a big name or two that gets cut that people aren't expecting, that gets cut during these cuts, and then eventually gets picked up for a bargain price on a contended team. So that's still going to be another headline of next week.
And Jake Whiting, diehard Bengals fan, he says, let me make sure everyone can read this. Let's get this up and rolling. He goes, he is playing with the ones. Jake, you talking about Burrow with the one? Of course he is. You should still be concerned about that, though. I'm just saying. I had to, Jake. It's Friday. It's loosey-goosey Friday. I hope that you're not going to be sensitive like Matt Muncy. I hope that you could just sit here and take jokes and not get all up in your feelings and then be judgmental and then try to pray for people at the end. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We'll get into all that coming up here around the corner. We're live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, jump in the conversation there. And then, of course, on YouTube, you can search ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, like, subscribe, follow along, be a part of what we do. Chad Kinser on Facebook says he's waiting for a Shaw argument. Then John Sladen says, please no. So John Sladen does not want the Shaw argument. And Chad said, it's coming. And then John Sladen says, sitting here waiting for the train wreck. You hear that, Shaw? You got fans. You are. I'm just glad I'm not considered the train wreck by all, anyways. By most, but not all. All right, Kev. So coming up tonight, our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week features the Fairmont Firebirds. They welcome in the Trotwood Rams. I'm really interested in this matchup for a couple reasons. For one, if you would have asked me, if you look at Fairmont's schedule, they opened up with Alter and then Trotwood. I mean, Fairmont's a very good team. They could easily be 0-2, and I don't think anybody's going to sit there and bat an eye at that. Like, there's 2 good teams that they play. So they beat Alter in week 1, have a chance to beat Trotwood here tonight. I mean, to be 2-0 after having Alter and Trotwood potentially in weeks 1 and 2, to be potentially 2-0 at the end, that's a huge heck of a start to the season. So I need to see if so apparently there was rumblings today. WOSN out of Lima had tweeted out that the OHSAA is considering, and maybe it's already been finalized, I just haven't come across it, that the minimum games to play to be playoff eligible is 5. It was 8. 8 was low to begin with, or 8 was high to begin. 8 was too high to begin with, considering if you're already trying to lay the groundwork for canceled games. I just thought 2. I mean, that's kind of interesting to me because you don't have to. It's not your team. It doesn't have to be your team that has the outbreak that can cause you a game.
Right.
Springboro didn't have the outbreak. It was Lebanon last week, and that's not a shot at them. I'm just like it was Lebanon's outbreak that led to Springboro not getting a game in. So if it was 8 games minimum, let's say Springboro runs into another opponent that has the same thing, and then Springboro ends up having an outbreak, and now that's 3. 8 was too high to begin with. 5 makes a lot of sense, but it's going to be tough, especially when you consider the playoff point system.
Right.
I know they've expanded the playoffs, but it's going to be interesting to see. 30 games is what I read today that have been canceled because of COVID heading into this weekend. I know CJ reworked a game. Their game was canceled. They have I think Moeller coming in, if I'm not mistaken. I need to look that up. But they have another opponent coming in, so it's going to be interesting. So
that's a nightmare scenario. Think about how many high schools there are in the state of Ohio. Then you break it down by division. So you're making decisions about teams all across the state of Ohio who have a ton of different, from county to county, there's different COVID rules. And, school to school systems, there's different COVID rules and everything like that. And you have to come down with a decision to try to, keep the playoffs alive, to keep them alive. And, to play 80% of your games in the middle of a pandemic, I don't know if that's a good number or not either. I think it should be somewhere around, 6 to 7 games to be eligible for the playoffs or something like that. I think 80 is a bit high. 80% of your games played is a bit high to expect your team, your school not to have a breakout, and then all your opponents not to have it a breakout as well. That's pretty tough.
Well, for me, I don't know what the big picture of COVID looks like as far as a year ago at this time, getting COVID under control was hopefully we get a vaccine that nobody wants to take. And then, so a year from now, where are we going with this pandemic in regards to how we're planning for it? Because if this is something that we just have to live with moving forward, even with the vaccines being readily available, are we always, is this the new norm moving forward, games being canceled because of COVID? Are we going to get to a certain point where we just look at COVID like it's, they have the flus, it's flu season. They have a bunch of, it's contagious, bunch of guys got sick. At what point at what point do we start looking at this as it doesn't even matter if there's a vaccine, it's still going to be spread around. So if we're always going to have cancellations due to COVID moving forward, if this is the new norm, I don't think we should have a minimum playoff number. I think that there's going to be teams screwed out of playoff spots this year because of direct or indirect causes of COVID, whether it's an outbreak on their team or through situations out of their control. I keep going back to that Springboro situation because Springboro didn't have the outbreak on their team. They couldn't find an opponent last week. So imagine if it was 8 and after week 1, you're down to the margin of error being 1 game. I'm surprised at last year letting everybody in because of COVID. I'm surprised they didn't do it again this year. In OHSA's defense, I think at the time of making the plans heading into this year, maybe it appeared as if we were well on our way back to normal with the vaccines coming out before this Delta variant came back and took over. So I don't know. I almost wonder if we get to the point at the end where they rework this. Look, we only played 6 regular season games last year and got every team in the playoffs. We could be well on our way to that again. Again, I haven't heard that. All I'm saying is if there's 30 games already this weekend alone in the state of Ohio that's been canceled or reworked because of COVID, that's only going to get worse as it gets colder out. That's only going to get worse as we go further and further into the season. I just think that at some point they're going to, they've already potentially made the change from 8 to 5. You might as well just make it to everyone. I'm surprised they didn't just make it every team again until we have an idea of how this is going to be handled regularly, until it's regulated moving forward.
Well, it's as simple as this. Things change quickly. Like just because it's one way today, don't mean they're gonna keep it that same way halfway through the season. They, like you said, they could change their minds halfway through the season. Say, you know what, everybody's in the playoffs again. We're gonna do it like that again until we come up with a better plan for next year or something like that. They're gonna probably be flexible, just like at this time last year, the Big Ten was not playing football. They were not gonna play football. 2 weeks later, yeah, we gonna play. You know what I'm saying? So it's everybody's being flexible. Everybody's making a decision and then going back on that decision weeks later. So, just because it's one way today, I don't think it'll be the same way for weeks to come.
And again, I've yet to come across a final ruling on the OHSA announcing that it's a 5-game minimum now. But 518-1410. 518-1410. It was WOSN that had tweeted that earlier today regarding that. I'm on OHSA's Twitter page right now. There's been no official ruling, unless I'm missing it. So listeners, if you want to help us out, feel more than welcome to. I'm admitting I don't have that in front of me to give you the final answer on that, but I did see that tweet from WOSN earlier today saying that reports are circulating that could be the case. But 518-1410, high school football fans, I want to hear from you. Should this be another season of every team makes the playoffs, considering how unbalanced it's going to be by the time we get to the end? If 30 games have already been canceled or manipulated or impacted already in week 2, and that's just week 2, that's not combining weeks 1 and 2. That's just this weekend's games alone in the state of Ohio. I believe it shouldn't be an 8-game minimum to qualify for the playoffs. I don't even think it should be a 5-game minimum to qualify for the playoffs. I think it needs to be every team gets in again. It happened last year, and I'm going to tell you right now, in a normal world without this pandemic, I hate the idea of every team getting in the playoffs like basketball. I didn't like the idea of expanding the playoffs to begin with, because I thought that what made high school football unique was the art of, if you made the playoffs, like we honor teams, we honor high schools in the area who make the playoffs on top of, what you do in the playoffs. Yes, but like in high school basketball, we don't get all excited about a sectional title. Sometimes we don't get excited about district title. We're intrigued by the regional, but the state appearance is what matters. In high school football, when your team qualifies for the playoff, sometimes it's like you're always, oh yeah, you were part of that 2016 playoff team, right? Like we didn't talk about when they lost in the playoffs. We didn't talk about if they, got a win or two or got to the state championship game. It was, remember my junior year, made the playoffs my junior year. That was awesome. That's why I love that, because it was so unique. It was a reward. It was rare to make the playoffs. It's hard to make the playoffs. That's why I didn't like the idea of expanding it, other than I do like the OHSA's response saying that they understand that, the history of the sport, and that, most people like tradition of the playoffs not being so wide out, but got to think that anything that can provide students more engaging opportunities like this, that's who they have to think of more than they have to think of what we think of what used to be great back in our day. So I did like that response. I thought that was a fair response from the OHSA, saying that they understand. It was Tim Street, actually. I know Tim real well. I like him a lot. He said, that he understands the traditionalists out there that don't like the expansion of the playoffs, but he said, anytime that we're gathering with our group of leaders and it comes down to providing more memorable opportunities for the student athletes, that's going to trump our traditionalist mindsets every single time. So I thought that was a pretty good
And another
response.
thing that we all have to think about, there's way more high schools than there used to be.
Yeah,
it's like triple. I mean, not even including like charter schools and things of that nature. So it's a ton of high schools out there. Like in the school district that I went to high school in, there was us, Cleveland Heights, and that was it. But now there's like multiple charter schools that are in that Cleveland Heights area. They all funnel, like if you play sports, you funnel and play at Cleveland Heights High School. But, you can't go somewhere in Cleveland. There's a street called Euclid, Long Street. You gonna drive up and down Euclid. You'll run into 3 high schools. You run up and down Cedar, you'll run into 3 high schools. So that's just in Cleveland alone. That's Cleveland and East Cleveland alone. You run into like 5 high schools in a 3-mile stretch. So the fact that people wanted to be like it was in the 90s and the 80s, it's just not going to be that way, because there's so many students, there's so many high schools. So you have to open it up. You can't just make it rigid and make it only one way. You have to expand and constantly tweak and change things to make it ready available for the student body.
Yeah, look, it's it. Melvin Levitt, the helicopter that played
Yes,
at
sir.
Cincinnati. He's from there, correct?
Mhm.
Mark Ashman played at UD. He was my basketball coach in college, and he played, I think it was AU or summer ball or whatever. He played with Levitt. And he would say that, he would just walk around yelling Euclid, what? Euclid. He would yell Euclid the whole entire time. So when you said that, that's right where
I have a story about Melvin Lovett.
He coached at Cincinnati. Man, it was a junior college he coached at just over in Cincinnati. He just destroyed his players. He just tore them a new one. His coaching style does not work today. I don't know if he's coaching or where he's coaching at, but I didn't have a problem with it, but I knew that the softies out there were going to have a huge problem with how he talked to people. But hey, that was that. He played for Huggins, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. That's why. So there you go. That's what motivated him and his teammates back in the day, and he took that with him today. But the problem is, moms don't like that. So
Quick story
don't
about
talk to my baby that way.
Quick story. So it's this basketball court in Cleveland called Euclid Creek. So you would go down there super early. I'm talking like 8 o'clock in the morning to try to go get some good run in. So there's 2 courts. One court is like right by the creek. And if you miss a shot, it'll roll into the creek. The ball will roll into the creek. And then there's the good court where like the trees are overhanging. So it has good shade and both rims are 10 feet and everything like that. So me and my buddies, we get down there one summer. That's our 5. We see Melvin Lovett over there. We see some of the other guys that play for Euclid High School and everything. Now, Melvin's like probably 3-4 years ahead of me. All I know is I'm going into my sophomore year of high school. He's up there with his crew. They're running shop, doing what they do. And all we just like, look, when we get on, we giving it all, the whole mumbo jumbo. So we're winning. I'm hitting my threes. I hit like 3 threes. So I hit one. Wide open, like nobody closed out.
Buckets.
So we're up 10-9. We're up 10-9. 2 more points, we win. I hit another 2, it's going to be game. And all I could hear as he's flying past me to try to close out, you ain't going to make the next one. So, they score. So it's 10-10. Swings it to me. I'm wide open again. I let it fly again. Felt good. He literally catches it with 2 hands. This is a jump shot. With 2 hands, he catches it. Self passes, one of those passes to yourself that you can gain momentum. And all I hear is my dude Dennis say, "Get back." He's so fast, so strong. I grab him by the shoulders. I literally grab him by the shoulders. He jumps in the air. I am on his back.
Buckle up.
2 hands. He dunks the basketball with me on his shoulders. Now, I'm 6 foot at the time, probably like 130 pounds. Yes, 130 pounds, 16-year-old. I know it's embarrassing. But imagine that. Imagine the ability to be able to dunk the basketball with another human being on your back. And not the fact that I was having a good game until he caught my shot out of the air. And then when he didn't dunk on me, he dunked while I was on his back. They eventually won. As the game ends, he slaps me on my butt and said, "Get some more arc on that shot." And that was it. That was my one and only encounter with Melvin Lovett.
The helicopter. And you got to see it up close. Get off he took off with you on or not.
Dude, I had both hands on his shoulders and he still dunked it.
He was nuts, man. He's nuts. So, all right, so Chad on Facebook says, he dunked with you.
So did I dunk too?
Yeah, Keith Tolliver said, "Great story. I'm dying." Shaw jumped in. He says, Melvin, Patterson, Logan, Kenyon. With goodness. Melvin too, and Fletcher, best starting 5 in UC history right there. So.
Played against Steve Logan as well, one of my best friends. He played with him at Euclid and everything like that. We would go to open runs with him. Steve was so cold, man. Like, it was just bottoms. At the top of the key, he didn't miss. He didn't even really jump on his jump shot. It was just almost like a free throw. That's how good he was. I never played against Ruben. I seen him play like at the open runs. Obviously seen him play in high school, but never played against him. But yeah, like Steve Logan was legit.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. All right, we'll step away for a few. But high school fans, high school football fans, high school football parents out there, I'm curious your thoughts. So I did find, Mike Dyer does a great job covering high school sports for WCPO out over in Cincinnati. And he said that, that's who they had mentioned earlier, the WOSN, talking about his tweets earlier, talking about that they're going to be talking about the OHSA reduces minimum number of regular season football games needed for the playoffs. So that has been announced. So that is my fault. But nonetheless, it was announced yesterday as far as that goes. So 5 games needed for high school football teams to qualify for the playoffs. Again, not every team is in this year. I believe that every team should make the playoffs this year. That's a separate argument from my big picture opinion about the playoff being. I like the way it was, before COVID, where it was a challenge to make the playoffs. Good teams missed the playoffs. I know you're saying, well, that's the problem. No, that's what made the playoffs so interesting, is that every week pattern. The expansion of it, I wasn't a fan of it, but at the same time, I agree with Tim Street of the OHSAA saying, hey, any opportunity that they have to be able to provide more memorable experiences for the young student athletes, that's always going to be the side that they roll with, making more money off playoff games. But, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. I agree with it. It's the same thing. No, he does tweet out that the board of directors meeting highlighted from today in Columbus, there's 817 member high schools, 747 member 7th and 8th grade schools. The OHSAA remains the 4th largest state association in the country.
Really?
For member schools. Yep.
4th. So I'm assuming Texas is one,
probably
California
1.
2.
Where would be 3?
I would imagine Florida, right?
So probably Texas, California,
Texas,
Florida, and Ohio.
Sure.
Okay. Interesting. All right. We'll be back in a moment. But 518-1410, 518-1410. Where are you with how the OHSAA should handle the football playoffs this year? Already 30-plus games having to be rescheduled, or not rescheduled, I'm sorry, just canceled. Teams having to kind of, quickly adapt and be able to make, changes on the fly. Moeller is playing at CJ tonight. That was not a regular schedule. That was not the original scheduled game for this weekend. So lucky for CJ that they were able to get that matchup, on the books. But we're already 30 games impacted this weekend by COVID, and that number is only going to continue to rise, in my opinion. So regardless of your opinion on COVID, this has nothing to do with vaccines or masks or your opinion on the COVID-19. It's strictly about navigating through this in year 2 for the OHSAA. They moved the minimum to 5 games. You have to at least play 5 to qualify for the playoffs. I believe they should eliminate that number altogether. It went from 8 to 5. We're seeing so many games impacted already. Just remove the minimum requirement. Every team makes the playoffs. Every team is good. The teams that aren't impacted by COVID directly or indirectly, they're going to be fortunate. The teams that are impacted by it directly or indirectly, it's through no fault of their own. They're being impacted by factors that are out of their control. So at the end of the day, eliminate the minimum requirement of games to be played to make the playoffs. Every team should make the playoffs again for this year and moving forward until we have control of this pandemic. If only there was a vaccine out there. I'm just joking, folks. Calm down. I mean, there is a vaccine, but relax. It's a feel-good Friday. I don't need no negativity here today. We have our Glacier Softwater High School Football Game of the Week coming up later on tonight. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and myself will be live at Fairmont High School here in Kettering as they welcome in the Trotwood Rams. 7 o'clock the kickoff. Of course, you can stream it at wingam.com or catch it right here on 1410 Wing AM. 518-1410. Should we eliminate the minimum amount of games needed to be played to make the playoffs this year? And should every team make the playoffs like we saw last year? We'll be back. 518-1410.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, hot and humid, a high near 92. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low around 70. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, once again hot and humid, a high near 92. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Goodyear believes in the power of moving forward. No matter if it's on the track, the court, or the field, movement makes us want to be more. It pushes us to go further, to show the world what we can do. Movement has the unique ability to change our perspective, to challenge us, to work for a better tomorrow. Movement can even bring us together when we're still. Because if we're focused on the next move, we don't have to worry about what's behind us. Goodyear, more driven.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Heard you're buying a car. I brought my calculator.
Dad, I already used Capital One Auto Navigator. I found my car online and got pre-qualified instantly, instead of all that.
You know those things impact your credit score.
Didn't impact my credit score, Dad. Now I'm going to the dealership for a test drive and to make the purchase.
Sounds too easy.
No, it's just easy. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/Auto Navigator.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change coming up? We can help you get started. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Castrol GTX and an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter for just $34.99. And you can get it all fast, your way. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
Are we ready for the 5:30 pickup?
Cam's Courier Service's newest hire delivered his resignation.
Hey, Ray, who's handling?
She now needs next day shipping on a new driver.
All these boxes here, are they ingoing or are they outgoing?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
In here, there are seasonal savings throughout the Home Depot, so you can get back out there for more doing. In here, it's a Weber Spirit Grill. Out there, it's the dinner bell for your next neighborhood cookout. In here, it's a gallon of exclusive Bear Scuff Defense paint and a Lillard White vanity. Out there, it's a rejuvenated guest bath ready for guests. Get back for more doing with store-wide savings for house-wide doing. Only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
When you're ready to buy something, the first thing you do is go online. But buying a home is different. You've got loan applications, pre-approvals, competing offers, the list goes on. That's where a Realtor comes in. Realtors have expertise and local knowledge to give you a competitive edge that a search bar just can't. And in today's market, an edge is what you need. So when you're ready to buy a home, the first thing to do is make sure you have an agent who's a Realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Staples Connect has everything for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, Crayola 12-count colored pencil bonus packs, 10+2 Crayola marker bonus packs, and Staples pencil boxes are just 97 cents each. Plus, Staples 3-ring binders are only $1.88. With savings like that, your student won't just be ready for school, they'll be totally prepped for the first day. Ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples or staples.com/back to school today. Ends 9/18. Limit 30, except no limit on binders. Prices may vary online.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Goodyear believes in the power of moving forward. No matter if it's on the track, the court, or the field, movement makes us want to be more. It pushes us to go further, to show the world what we can do. Movement has the unique ability to change our perspective, to challenge us, to work for a better tomorrow. Movement can even bring us together when we're still. Because if we're focused on the next move, we don't have to worry about what's behind us. Goodyear, more driven.
Staples Connect has everything to help you get ready for back to school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Visit your local Staples store, staplesconnect.com, and be more than ready for school. Staples.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Louisville Cardinals, my goodness. The Louisville Cardinals suspend men's basketball coach Chris Mack 6 games for his role in the extortion case. Again, the article from Mark Schlabach, he's an ESPN senior writer, says that Louisville suspended men's basketball coach Chris Mack for 6 games Friday after concluding that he didn't follow university guidelines and procedures while being extorted by a former assistant coach. Louisville said in a statement that Mack would be suspended without pay from November 8th through the 27th and would miss 6 non-ACC games, including 2 games in the Bahamas. During his suspension, Mack will be prohibited from having contact with players and coaches. He will forfeit $221,000 in compensation, according to the school.
Fair foul.
I mean, look, I can't comment on this because I don't know the full case. I remember when there was leaks of the extortion rumors that came out, about a month, 2 months? Actually, it was back when the season was still going on. It's August, folks. It's about to be September, and I feel like March Madness was just a few weeks ago, and it was more than a few months ago. What about you, Fair Foul? What all? I mean, I don't even know what all went into this.
The only reason I would say it's fair is because it's Louisville. And coming off the Rick Pitino thing, I'm sure they have a zero tolerance policy going on with all guys that are head coaches at the university. Like, they can't afford another scandal.
Well,
like,
I mean, the school didn't. Oh, yeah, Louisville suspended. Yeah. I see. Okay. This wasn't an NCAA thing.
So okay. I think that a clause in this contract is in there, and they like, look, man, we can't have any type of more blips, no matter what it is. And him being involved with this or being extorted or whatever the case may be, him trying to sweep it underneath the rug, they had to do something because they're going to be under fire yet again from everything that happened with Rick Pitino. You also got to think about when who was the football coach that was having an affair with his secretary and everything like that, was riding a motorcycle? Bobby Petrino. Like, he was the Louisville coach at that time. No, he was the Arkansas coach, but he was also a Louisville coach, and they brought up his record and things that he was doing at Louisville. So, like, that whole program, I'm sure they have a zero tolerance policy about any shady activities going on.
So, yeah, 6 games, all non-conference games. So there you go. Other reports coming out, again, this was from Adrian Wojnarowski, that, the Cleveland Cavaliers acquired Chicago restricted free agent Lauri Markkanen on a 4-year, $67 million deal in a sign and trade. Reports are at any point now Kevin Love could be bought out. That's a big roster. They could have potential 3 near 7-footers in their starting lineup next year. But the report is gaining headlines because there's rumors that the Lakers will swoop up on Kevin Love, which should surprise absolutely nobody. Reunite him with Russell Westbrook, reunite him with LeBron James, and reunite him with a purple bench as opposed to the wine and gold bench that he was sitting on in Cleveland. So there you go. But interesting. On paper, Lakers look like Team USA from 10 years ago. I mean, it's pretty interesting nonetheless.
I love the Lauri Markkanen deal for the Cavs. They finally have somebody on the team that can shoot the 3 ball. You and I talked about Colin Sexton. He's not a shooter. He's like a scorer and everything like that. So you add him to that lineup and you get younger. You go ahead and buy out that contract from Kevin Love, which everybody in their right mind knew that was a bad contract to give him. Not that Kevin Love didn't deserve a contract extension, but that length of a contract, I think he has like almost 3 years left on that deal. So everybody, like, normally when you hear buyout, you're like, all right, we're going to buy you out the last year of the contract or 2 years of the contract. They're about to buy out 3 years of this contract for Kevin Love just to get him out of there, to get the younger players on the court, to get them a lot more run and everything like that. You know, they got the rookie Evan Mobley out there, but this Laurier Market and pickup from the Bulls is huge. I knew he was going to be on a trading block as soon as they went ahead and got DeMar DeRozan, because they're basically going to be out there running almost a 4-guard lineup with the Bulls, and there's no room for him out there. Like, he can't play the 5. You know, he's like a 3-4 type of guy. He can't play the 5, so there was going to be no space for him. But I love this pickup for the Cavs. Gives them another shooter on the team.
Yeah. To go real quick, to rewind back to what we opened up the show with, again, I threw out the question earlier. It was announced yesterday. We didn't have a show yesterday due to Reds baseball. The OHSAA is you needed 8 games. You needed to play at least 8 games to qualify for the state playoffs, for the football playoffs. That's been moved back to 5 because just the floods, the flooding of games that has been canceled or had, you know, changes that have had to be made with teams directly and indirectly being impacted by COVID, whether it's an outbreak on their roster, contact tracing leading to guys having to miss practice in games, or, you know, it's their opponents that are going through it, and now they're kind of left stranded a little bit. So I just think there's so much inconsistency with this that I would really like to see them waive the minimum game requirements altogether. I would like them to eliminate the playoff expansion for this year and just do what they did last year and let every team in. So I had asked, what would you like to see? What should the OHSAA do for this upcoming high school football playoff? Because we saw last year it could be done. Every team made it. It could be done. I don't like it in in normal circumstances. I don't like that idea. I don't like that approach like in basketball. I think that there's, the playoff system. I like it. I think that, you have to earn your way to get in. But times aren't normal right now. There's teams missing games already. 30-plus games already impacted for week 2 alone, not combined between week 1 and 2, which would still be a high number in my opinion. But week 2 alone, 30-plus games in the state, and that number could be increasing over. Troy and Xenia canceled due to COVID. I know Springfield's been impacted by it. I know that CJ has Moeller coming in tonight to kind of make up for their, change in their game due to COVID. I want to see every team make the playoffs. I don't think it's fair to have a playoff system in place to gauge teams who have played. Some could play 4 to 5. Some could play all 10. Some could play 9. Some could play, 7. I just don't understand how that, or you'll have a team on the back end of the schedule that you really need to play that good of a team or that level of a team to get the points that you need. And then through no fault of your own, you miss it. I think the OHSAA, they moved it from 8 to 5. I think that if we get to week 3 and 4, and this is still happening at this clip,
right,
they might just go back to what we did last year. Again, I haven't heard that. No one's told me that, but I think that that's what would make sense. Chad Kinser on Facebook, he says that if games are canceled because of COVID issues, and I think the teams that did not have issues should play each other to keep the minimum requirement intact. Chad, I agree with that 1,000,000%. That sounds simple. I thought it was that simple too, but the Springboro game that I keep alluding to, that's really changed how I view all of this, because their athletic director came out and said, hey, we exhausted all resources to try to get a game last week for week 1 after their game was canceled with Lebanon because Lebanon had contact tracing and COVID issues. They couldn't find anyone that was willing to play him. I'm like, so teams would rather not play in week 1 of the football season because of fill in the blank. Find a way. If you want the kids to play, don't tell me that you care about the kids' experience. Then you're trying to find reasons not to play, then finding ways to play. I don't want to hear about, they're too good or we're too good. They're not good enough. Playing them doesn't get us anything. Those lame excuses, throw them out the window in times like this. Or the OHSAA should do their part and say, everyone's making the playoffs again. This is too chaotic. There's not going to be a level playing field for how we gauge who the top teams in the state are to make the playoffs with everyone playing topsy-turvy schedules. I just think it needs to go that route.
Something I would like to know is, when is like the cutoff? Like, when do you need to inform the other team of like, yeah, we can't play?
I mean, because
you can't like inform a team on Thursday, like, yeah, we ain't gonna be able to play y'all on Friday, and then expect them to dial up an opponent between Thursday and Friday and play a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, logistically just not a possible situation. Like, just say, I don't know, throw up a random school down here in Dayton and they get a game canceled, and then a random team up in Cleveland, they get a game canceled, and they try to dial up each other on Thursday at 8:00 at night, and the superintendents and powers that be are trying to work out a game to happen for the very next day with buses and family and all that type of stuff. Like there's a lot of logistics that go into it. So my question would be, is there a cutoff time to say like, hey, we got too many COVID cases, we don't have enough players to play? Is that a Thursday call? Is that a Tuesday call? Is that like a Friday morning call? Like, sorry, coach, we're not going to be there tonight. I don't know. Those are just questions that I'm just throwing out to everybody.
A lot of questions, not a lot of answers. Now, Shaw brings up a good point with the full schedule already scheduled. How would you play that out? Look, nothing's locked in. I mean, nothing is locked in stone. And my thing is this too. The teams that want something to happen, they make it happen. There's always a laundry list of reasons why something can't happen. And this is coming from Justin Kinner, who knows it all, who you can't tell otherwise, right? Like, I'm just saying, like when schools want something to happen, it'll happen. Like but with that being said, there has to be a point throughout the week where you say, okay, like there may not be a set cutoff point, but you have to make one.
Right.
I also say this too. If you're just going to play somebody, you need a couple days to prepare, to watch film, to have some kind of scheme put into place. Because what if you're the better team and you lose to the team that's not as good because you're not prepared or whatnot, then you miss the playoffs because of that? Just nothing is, I hate to use the word fair, nothing's fair about the world that we live in right now anyway.
Nothing's
so I don't want to do the whole, let's talk about high school football like no one else is going through something. But there is no fair way to do this. I'm just going to use the word, there's no fair way to do this. So my thing is, if you have to adapt, we're only in week 2. I think if in week 3 and 4, you still see 30 plus games being canceled every week, the OHSA needs to say, we're cutting off the last 3 weeks of the season. Doesn't matter who you play at this point. Play your 6 games. You could I think even last year, you could lose a playoff game in week 7 and still play up to 10 games, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. You could have lost in week 7, and then you still could have scheduled 2 or 3 more games to fill out your 10 for the season. I just think that nothing should be, cemented, into the ground right now. I think that everything's a week by week basis. All that matters is if every team makes the playoffs, it doesn't matter what the schedule looks like and who you've played already. Get to week 6 or 7, start the playoffs then. It worked last year. It could work this year too.
Yeah, I want to know behind the scenes, or I'm curious what happens behind the scenes, like when they are trying to come up with plans about the playoff and how they're going to operate the football season, or not even just football season, cross country season, volleyball season, ton of, fall sports going on right now. So like, how are these calls going? When are they having these calls? Because, it would be neglectful if they weren't having these conversations last spring, all right, let's start thinking and talking about the fall. Like, let's put some stuff, let's put pen to paper, let's come up with an outline, a potential situation that we can come up with some type of guidelines or type of scenarios, a way that we can make sure that the student athletes have a full season.
Oh yeah, but that's too late for that now. I mean, you could talk about next season right now, or you can use the time to focus on this season. And
no, what I'm saying, like for this season that's happening now, were they having conversations about the upcoming season, like way back when school was still in session before? Like, that's what I'm just asking. I'm throwing out the question, like, is that something that was going on, or were they just like, all right, we're going to be fair, I'm just curious.
To be fair, in March and April, numbers were dropping.
Right.
COVID numbers were dropping. The vaccine was being rolled out. I mean, it looked like we were not getting rid of this, but that we were heading in the right direction. So I think everyone got complacent and comfortable with planning.
Right.
What COVID should have taught us a year ago was never stop planning. You always have to plan for, plan B, D, C, whatever, fill out the whole alphabet if you need to. But the vibe I'm getting is that when these plans were made earlier in the year, it was at the time that COVID looked like it was under control, that the vaccine was working. And then this Delta variant came in, and now it's totally kind of rewinded us back to the times we were in last year, minus all the restrictions, of course.
Right.
But the reality is that we're not that far off from where we were last year as far as how this is spreading and impacting games. So Shaw said, he says he agrees with me. That doesn't happen often. He goes, I agree with you, Justin. I know that Xenia and Troy was canceled yesterday. There's no way they could pick up another game. And that's what I'm saying is so now neither, when you talk about the cutoff time, let's say that happens to them again quite a few more times, and now they're like nervous because, oh man, if this happens to us one more time, we're eliminated from the playoffs and we're undefeated technically. I don't know what their records are. I haven't checked on them, but
or even is it even fair to have a cutoff time?
I just think that everyone made the play, because the urgency to try to get to the playoff is what's making all of this very stressful for these ADs. If I'm an athletic director, of course you would love to get as many games in as possible, but some of the ADs and coaches are feeling the pressure of, We would love to get as many games in as possible, but we need to get games in to get to the playoffs. And if the OHSAA would eliminate it, go back to the model from last year where every team makes it, knock off the final 3 weeks of the regular season. Now, if you miss a game like Troy Xenia did, where the news came out yesterday, now the stress level is not as high on, okay, would we have liked to play today? Would we have liked to play an opponent today? Yes, but the game's canceled. We didn't have time to schedule a new one. We're not out anything. Just another, out on the chance to play, but we're still in line for the playoffs come that time.
Yeah, it's like you said, also with how high school football does the point system. If you are a team that's like right there on the edge of making the playoffs and you have a big opponent that's coming up, and if you beat them, that's a whole bunch of points, and they have a COVID outbreak, then you don't even get an opportunity to play them to get those points. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tricky situation. It's crazy. It's sad for the kids. It's sad for the student body. It's sad for the coaches, parents, everybody involved with the situation. So if they are able to open up the whole playoffs, it would take a lot of stress off the table for, the players and student athletes and everything like that. Because, let's be real, man, we know that it's people that are under the weather that aren't going to say anything, especially a high school kid that says like, all right, I think I'm not feeling well, but I'm not going to tell anybody because I don't want to ruin it for my teammates. I don't want to ruin this opportunity for my guys. So that would take the stress and take that off the table if they were to open up the whole playoffs.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll have an update on the Pac-12. The Pac-12 made an announcement on the direction that they are going in. And again, the Pac-12 makes me laugh. They really do. They're the loudest because they have the most to lose. They're because they know right now when you look at the Big 12 potentially disbanding here in the coming seasons, the next weakest Power 5 conference is the Pac-12 at this point, even though they have the traditional power brands in there. But the power brands haven't been power brands going on for over a decade now. So we'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. In hour 2, we'll also get to our over-unders. Jared Luganville with Prep Red Zone Ohio. He's going to give us his top 3 high school matchups of the weekend here in week 2 in the Miami Valley. So that's all coming up. We still have a lot to get to. 518-1410. A lot of good stuff coming in regarding, how to handle this upcoming high school football season. Chad Kinser says, couldn't they make a kind of TBD game schedule? We play them or their opponents. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm misunderstanding that question, but either way, there's no one's at fault here.
Yeah,
no one's at fault here. This is just going to be a bumpy ride once again. But by next year, if we're still doing this, song and dance again, which at this point, I don't know why anyone out there believes it's going to be any different. They need to have a plan in place for how they're going to go about doing this. So we'll see. We'll be back in a moment. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. 518-1410 is the number to call in.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
O'Reilly. Get more miles on the road with O'Reilly Auto Parts. A clean fuel system means better gas mileage for your car. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner for $8. Plus, earn double O Rewards points. For a clean, lubricated, more fuel-efficient system, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Greatness. It's not born of coincidence. It's not a product of luck. It's forged through dedication, drills, and the acquisition of new skills. Wanting won't get you there, but sweat equity just might.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street wants to wish the Dayton Flyers Red Scare the best of luck in their journey through the basketball tournament. Wear red, be loud, go Flyers!
Summer is winding down, and Rob's Beer Barn is preparing for all of your favorite fall beers and other seasonal refreshments. Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your gatherings. You can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need: craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks and ice, and Rob's Beer Barn apparel. Rob's has it all. And for last-minute items, you can call, walk in, or drive through. Stop in and visit Rob's and stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darce, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn. Just look for the beaver.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well, medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Taco Bell presents a get-out-of-bedtime story. It's time to wake up from this amazing dream, even though you're jet skiing on lemonade. How extreme! And oh, look at that, you just won the lottery. Is that a castle? Take the keys, it's your property. What's better than swimming in space? Just wait for the big reveal. It's Taco Bell breakfast and it's actually real. So it's time to wake up and bid your dreams farewell, because toasted breakfast burritos are waiting for you, only at Taco Bell. Participating Taco Bell locations near you during breakfast hours only.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
You wanted the best? Well, you got the best. The hottest band in the world. Cheers.
Kiss. The end of the road tour. One last kiss.
This Thursday, Wright State's Nutter Center.
Kiss on their final tour ever.
On sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
History will be made.
Is fall your favorite season? Lowe's is definitely the place to get ready for it, especially during Labor Day. From fall garden gear to seasonal decor, they have it all at a great price.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Staples Connect has everything for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, Staples comp books, 2-pocket poly folders, 24-pack Crayola crayons, and 8-pack Pep Rally No. 2 pencils are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school. They'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school today and get more than ready for school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 9/18, limit 30, prices may vary online.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Add comfort to your home with Menards. Upgrade now with comfy interior furniture and you'll get a free area rug. That's right, get a free 5x7 rug valued at $149.99 with the purchase of any upholstered living room furniture at $299 or more. Find the perfect furniture to fit any decor. From love seats to sofas, sectionals to recliners, Menards has what you need to start relaxing now. Plus, get a free rug. Offer available in-store only. Now while supplies last.
Save big money at Menards.
King Crimson live. The Music is Our Friend Tour. September 2nd at Burrow's Music Center at the Heights. With special guests, the Zappa Band. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the Burrow's Music Center box office. Two legendary bands at the height of their power. King Crimson, together with the Zappa Band.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Get a king bed for a queen price at Mattress Firm and save up to $500 on top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
The Fairmont Firebirds welcome in the Trotwood Rams this Friday night at 7 p.m. for the ESPN Dayton Glacier Softwater Game of the Week. Listen live at 1410 Wing AM or stream the game at wingam.com. Firebirds, Rams, Friday night at 7 p.m. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, happy Friday. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here, top of the 4 o'clock hour. Just a reminder, week 2 of the high school football season. Keith Byers and I, we have your Glacier Softwater High School Football Game of the Week, week 2 matchup featuring the Fairmont Firebirds as they welcome in the Trotwood Rams. Fairmont got a huge win over Alter in the Battle of Kettering last week in week 1. Trotwood experienced their first loss of the season in week 1, of course, being shut out by Winton Woods. Trotwood, they don't lose a lot, and they definitely don't get shut out. So they're going to be angry, they're going to be hungry, they're going to be ready to go tonight, and they're going to be playing in a tough environment, a raucous environment at that here in Kettering and Fairmont. They want to go 2-0. I mean, if to potentially be 2-0 after opening up with Alter and Trotwood, and they got CJ coming up. I mean, they got Wayne. I mean, the GWAC's tough, of course, but I mean, CJ not in the GWAC, but a lot of their toughest games have come out of the GWAC. I mean, you play Alter, you play Trotwood, who's no longer in the GWAC, CJ not in the GWAC. I mean, that's a tough schedule that they have. All their tough games coming in the early going. So we're excited for that matchup coming up here tonight. Fairmont desperately wanting to start out 2-0 with wins over Alter and Trotwood. Trotwood trying to avoid going 0-2. And their schedule is pretty difficult moving forward as well. Keith Byers said he caught up with Jeff Graham earlier in the week. Both of them were at Buckeye practice, actually. They were in Columbus. They just got to talking about Trotwood's week 1 loss. And Coach Graham had just said, hey, they're super young, super talented, talent on both sides of the ball. but they're super young, and their youth, their youth appeared in that game last week, and their season doesn't get any easier. That's for sure. Another big tough test here tonight at Rush Stadium here for Fairmont. So keep that in mind. Keith and I will be live at 7:00 for our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week. All right, Kev. So let's start things off here in hour number 2 as Kev Nash brings us over under.
Kev Nash brings you over under.
All right, Kev, kick us off. We'll start things off, of course, in the NFL. Kinner's team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes, the Dallas Cowboys. They went virtual because of COVID-19 protocol. 3 players, including second-year receiver CeeDee Lamb, were in the protocol. So over or under 2.5 NFL games being forfeited due to COVID this season.
I don't know about you growing up, but did your parents ever threaten you with something major that you knew they weren't actually going to pull the trigger on if it came down to it, but you were so terrified? For me, it was Christmas. When I was a little kid, I actually believed that Santa would not come and bring me presents if I was bad. So I would be good for 1 month out of the year, December. I was on my best behavior. But you know how they always tell you those things so that they're hoping that they scare you into doing what you're supposed to do. I'm going to say under on this. So Kev Nash Kev Nash brings us over under. He says over under 2.5 NFL games being forfeited due to COVID. I'm going to say under because at the end of the day, the NFL's talking a big. They don't want these games forfeited. They want these games to happen. And to be honest with you, I think the NFL would be really frustrated with themselves if games get forfeited and canceled in 2021 after going a whole season last year during the pandemic at its peak without a what am I looking? What's the word? Without a forfeit. No, without the vaccine. Sorry, my gosh. So they made it through an entire season at the peak of the pandemic without a vaccine. Now there's a vaccine, and now they're going to cancel games. I think this is being done to kind of, again, incentivize teams. They're going to make your life hell if you don't get the vaccine. They're incentivizing teams to get vaccinated to make their lives easier. The quarterback for the Titans, why am I forgetting his name? I'm losing my mind today. Tannehill has been vaccinated. He's out with COVID. He could be out for less than 10 days. He just has to test negative in back-to-back days to be able to come back.
Right.
If you are not vaccinated, and it could be a false positive, but it doesn't matter. You're out. You're quarantined for 10 days. So that's where the incentivization is coming from, where it's just trying to make your life easier. No one said that you would not get the virus after the vaccine, but what they're saying is by getting the vaccine, for one, you won't react as bad to it from a health perspective, but also your life won't be as miserable in the NFL because the testing protocols are a lot simpler, and that's why. So I'm going to say under, Kev. I just don't think at the end of the day, although the NFL's threatening them and wanting to make the punishment sound severe and extreme, I do believe they will find players left and right. I do believe they're going to make them uncomfortable if they don't do ultimately what they want them to. But it doesn't benefit the NFL to cancel games. So I'm going to say under, but I do think there's going to be some close calls. There's going to be some ugly situations, but I'm going to say under. The NFL doesn't want to cancel games, and I think that they'll find a way to get through this.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I did want to touch on the threatening thing from the parents.
Yep.
Penny, my mom, she followed through on all threats. Physical,
no kidding.
Mental, all that. Today, that wouldn't fly in today's society, things that Penny put me and my brother through. But, Mom, still love you. Anyway, back to football. I'm going to go with the under as well. I'm with you 100%. If they were able to push through last season, they're going to be able to push through this season. And now that the FDA has approved the Pfizer, they're going to be pushing it like crazy now. Like, you know how they have the quote unquote fashion police at games talking about having guys having their belts in, their socks high and everything like that. They have the mask police at practice games now. So if you're an unvaccinated player, you get fined. I saw one of the Buffalo Bills players, they got fined for not having a mask on as they went into the facility. So they got eyes everywhere. So like you said, they're going to make their lives a living hell. So basically make it to man, just to get y'all off my back, I'm going to go get the poke. Yep. So I'm going to go with the under as well. I don't even think we get any games forfeited. I think they're going to push through. I think they'll move games around if necessary like they did last season, but I don't think any NFL games will be forfeited because, like you said, they don't want to do this because they got several media partners that they got to keep happy. ESPN, they got to keep NBC happy. They got to keep Fox happy. They got to keep all these media partners happy to keep those bucks rolling in. So I don't see any games being forfeited.
Yeah, and by the way, David Fulcher, he used to come on the show regularly. He's the fashion police. At least last I heard, he was the fashion police for the Bengals. And by the way, he hates when Schlemmer and I were doing the show, we'd have him on. Schlemmer would keep calling him the fashion police. So one time I called Fulcher to say, hey, you ready to come on with us? And we were off air. And he goes, yes. And he goes, and tell Schlemmer that if I hear him call me the fashion police one more time, I'm going to drive down there and kick his ass.
Mr. Fulcher, no offense. Please give me the correct title and I will call you by such.
Coincidentally enough, it was around the time of OBJ. It wasn't the watch thing because you and I were doing the show at that time. So either way, but it was something that happened in the locker room. It had something to do with OBJ.
Shoes?
It was the shoes. There's OBJ wore these crazy shoes.
Because they have my shoes, my cause, my cleats, my cause, and where players are allowed to wear whatever crazy, wacky cleats they want to, and they raise a lot of money for charity and everything like that. But like now you have to have like shoes that match your uniform or something wacky like that.
The watch was last year.
Yes, the watch was it last year?
No, that's the watch is what David Fulcher and I got it.
Watch was his first year.
So that's what it was. So when David Fulcher was on the show, that's the show that, and him and Schlemmer are real close. So he wasn't really threatening to come down and kick his ass, but it was so funny because he had to have been listening before, because as I called him, he goes, and by the way, if Schlemmer calls me the fashion police one more time, I'm gonna drive down there and kick his ass.
Oh my goodness.
But let's stay in the NFL. Another starting quarterback has been named. Earlier in the week, we talked about, of course, Trevor Lawrence being named the starting quarterback for the Jaguars, and no surprise there. But the New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton announced their starting quarterback. Of course, this starting quarterback will replace Drew Brees.
Yes, Jameis Winston. He's going to be starting for the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football. He went 9 of 10 for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. I switched this over a little bit. So 13 and a half interceptions for Winston as the starter for the Saints this season.
I used to think that when you are an interception machine, that doesn't, you can't shake that. Baker Mayfield's the first guy I've seen that he threw for 25 interceptions. I mean, it was a crap ton of interceptions under that Freddie Kitchens offense, but I think a lot of that was he had no structure. Baker Mayfield was rolling out and just trying to make something happen because there was no play design. There was no scheme. There was no technique that year under Freddie Kitchens when Baker had all those interceptions. Then I see last year a little bit more controlled. Baker only threw 8. It's not like Baker went from 23 or 24 interceptions to 18 and said, oh, see, I cut back on my interceptions. He was, literally single-digit interceptions. I never thought that was going to be the case with Baker Mayfield because, hell, he was even compared to Brett Favre coming out of college. Well, part of being compared to Brett Favre means you're going to throw naturally a lot of interceptions. So I don't think we're going to see that much of a decrease in interceptions from Jameis Winston, because I still think that you got to take the good with the bad. I think you got to tune up the bad, though. Mm-hmm. And, you're going to – I think Jameis will throw interceptions. It's just a matter of whether or not it's going to be the 30. You can't have 30 interceptions. You can't have 25. 18. I'm going to say over, Kev, but I still think it's going to be about 15 or 16 picks because you can't – you got to take the good with the bad with Jameis Winston. And I forgot what show I was listening to earlier today, but they were talking about this situation when you have Hill, who everyone thought was going to be the quarterback. Everyone thought that's who Peyton was going to roll with. Do you want a quarterback that's safe and that's not going to turn it over, but also not give you the chance for the big play? Or will you take the big play with the risk of the turnover, the interception, the big mistake? You always got to gamble high and go with the big play, because with the weapons that the Saints have, you have to take advantage of that. He has the offensive line. They have the run game. They have the weapons, assuming Michael Thomas makes it back relatively soon.
Right.
That Jameis Winston makes the most sense here. So I'm going to say over, but right at about 15. But he's going to cut those babies in half. 15 interceptions for Jameis Winston, which would still put him in the top 10 of interceptions if you look at the numbers
2
last year. But again, 15 interceptions for the way he plays, you got to take. It's like a point guard in the NBA. If you're going to play that Jason Kidd up and down fast break style, Jason Kidd was always the leader in assists in the NBA. He's also always top 5 in turnovers because that was just naturally his style of play. Steve Nash wasn't as much of a turnover machine as Kidd was, but both were dominant in the pass game. That's NBA. This is NFL, but it's kind of that. You got to pay attention to how often the ball is in his hand. I'm also curious if Sean Payton limits him. I don't think you're going to see that Baker Mayfield that crunch where you don't let him throw that often. But I do wonder how much they're going to kind of regulate him out on the field. That's going to be where I'm interested in to see.
I'm going to go with the under. I'm going to say he goes right about 13 interceptions. And I think it's going to be Sean Payton and the decision-making from Jameis, but mainly Sean Payton. I think they're going to utilize his skill set the best way they know how. And they're going to be taking a lot of rail shots with the young receiver, A.J. Callaway, downfield shots where you don't have interceptions. Interceptions come across the middle. When he was at Tampa Bay, they ran a ton of over routes and square ends where you're messing around with the linebackers and safeties and everything like that. Believe it or not, corners really don't come up with a lot of interceptions. Normally, it's the linebackers and safeties who get the interceptions.
Tip passes at the line of scrimmage. Those deep passes, safeties, that type of thing.
So you take those rail shots. So you take away those shots from the safety to come over the top and intercept the ball. Instead of throwing post routes, we're throwing go routes to the outside. So they're going to be doing things like that. Also, something that I'm going to see about the Saints, I'm calling this right now, that Hill will be the Saints' second leading receiver. I think he's going to go ahead and plug him in. Like normally, like they had him like as a gadget guy, running in and arounds and, quarterback draws and things of that nature. I'm thinking he's going to be the second leading receiver on that team. Mike Thomas is going to be out a little bit during the season, so they're going to be throwing the ball a ton to A.J. Callaway. They're going to be throwing it to Kamara out the backfield. Troutman from UD, he's hurt as well, so he's not available either. So I think they're going to have to use Hill a lot more in that passing game. So I think he's going to be the second leading receiver. So I'm seeing Jameis throw a lot of drag routes, a lot of safe passes early in the season until he gets his confidence and realizes how this offense is going to run before they start taking risky passes like post routes deep down the middle of the field. So I'm going to go with the under.
But then you take away from him what he does best, though. Like I think this is a tough situation for Payton to manage, Sean Payton to manage, because you don't want to constrict him too much,
right.
but maybe you start out slow like that and maybe kind of, baby steps a little bit. But Jameis, we forget, you don't throw 30 plus touchdowns in the NFL unless you got talent. He has the talent. It's just cleaning up those turnovers. So over under, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live on Facebook. Search the Justin Kinner Show. If you want to jump in the conversation in the chat, you could do so. Chad Kinser goes back to the first one. Mm-hmm. He says under, the NFL won't lose money. So he agrees with us. We did the whole the over under 2.5 games being canceled altogether due to COVID. We both, because that's what the NFL has threatened, that if you don't have enough players to play a game due to COVID and you haven't met the threshold of vaccinated players, that's just going to be a forfeiture and fines to the players.
And their ownership is going to have to pay the other team money for lost gate revenue and lost money on beer and parking and hot dogs and all that type of stuff. So that's why Jerry Jones is coming out there like, hey man, we got to take one for the team.
Yeehaw. Yeehaw. Yeah. Chad Kinser says, so under, NFL won't lose any money. So there's that. Chad also says under, he'll throw 12, the interceptions. Lamar Shelley, people are in cranky moods today. I'm in a good mood.
It's Friday.
Because you'll make a Baker reference or comparison out of anything. You remind me of Baker Mayfield. Saying crazy things like that, Lamar. Come on now. Oh, goodness. Chad says, love you, Kenner, but I bet you Baker throws more picks this year than Jameis.
What's the bet?
Well, forget the bet. It's a stupid bet, Chad. What? He threw 8 last year. Interceptions last year. Jameis threw 30 the last time he was a starter in the NFL.
What's the bet?
But why are we assuming he's going to throw more?
What's the bet?
Don't be talking about my dude Baker.
What's the bet?
Who I was ready to trade by. I don't know what the bet is. Too many people always want to bet me, and I don't have anything to offer.
Sure you do.
No,
sure I don't. You do. You have a camera right in front of you. You can wear a jersey. You can take a pie to the face. Something like that. Make it fun.
Pie. I ain't gonna waste a good pie. All right, up next, over under. Kevin Nash brings us number 3. Will stay in the NFL.
Yeah, former first-round pick Josh Rosen has signed with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons are his 5th team he has been with since he's been drafted in 2018. So over or under 1 start for the former UCLA standout.
Wow, this is pretty interesting to me because the Falcons were rumored to potentially draft Justin Fields in the draft and start looking at the quarterback of the future. And look, I like Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has very good numbers. You like to poo-poo on Matt Ryan a little bit. I like Matt Ryan. I like Matt Ryan more than Cousins, but both are pretty solid quarterbacks. Matt Ryan, a former MVP. But Matt Ryan, very good quarterback, still a very good quarterback. People were trying to bury him last year. He's top 5 in every statistical category out there. I have no clue why people continue to bury him other than the fact that his team's not very good. They should have probably gone in a different direction quarterback-wise, but his contract was something that not too many teams were willing to take on. It's not like he has an Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady level talent that would justify it. I'm going to say, you said over-under career start for the former UCLA standout being Josh Rosen. The Falcons find themselves that if he goes out, they have Josh Rosen. They could have had Justin Fields. I find that very interesting. But I'm going to say over-under one more. I'm going to say on over. I think he gets about 2 if he's the backup. If we're talking about him as the backup, because it's a 17-game season, Matt Ryan's getting older. There'll be injuries. There'll be tweaked ankles. There could be COVID. It could be direct or indirect. So I'm going to say over. I don't think he's great. The Josh Rosen story is one of the more interesting ones to me in the NFL as far as names that we hyped up at the draft and just totally fell off the face of the earth. I think he gets more than one start. Not because he's great, but because Matt Ryan's going to go down with an injury or COVID or what have you. It's a 17-game season now. We'll see what happens.
I'm going to go with the under, and I'm going to say, man, how wrong I was about Josh Rosen. I thought he was going to be great. I thought he was the guy. I'm a big fan of, quarterbacks coming out of college that are the reason why their teams win. And he was the sole reason why UCLA was even winning any of those games in the Pac-12. I was a big fan of him. But he is also a victim of one of those guys that is too smart for the NFL. He had his parents are lawyers and he wants to be a lawyer one day. And he just had that bravado and, thought he was too smart for the room type of personality. And from things that I've read, it rubbed a lot of, NFL people the wrong way. And now he finds himself on his 5th team since 2018. And if he can't latch on to be the backup long term with the Falcons, I don't think he'll ever start another game in the NFL. And that's just crazy to even think about. But that's just proof in the pudding that, as much as we talk about guys and hype them up going into the NFL draft, just like that, it could be all over. He's on his 5th team since 2018. It's 2021, if anybody was wondering. That's crazy to me. So good luck to him. I'm going to go with the under, though.
Chad says that Jameis is going to play it safe this year. Baker going to think he's a gunslinger. Maybe Baker does think he's a gunslinger. So be it. But Jameis, as far as Jameis playing it safe this year, if they were going to go with Jameis to play it safe, they would have played Hill. They're putting Jameis in because of his playmaking ability, and you can't play it safe and still be the big gunslinger that Jameis is. I don't think Jameis is going to be a turnover machine. I think he's going to cut those in half, but I do think that there's explosiveness there. You could argue his arm is stronger and more accurate at times than what we've seen from even Drew Brees the last couple of years.
For sure.
I don't even think that's a hot take. I think it's just the turnovers. If he never has 15 turnovers, Tom Brady's not in Tampa. Right. Not because Jameis is better, but because they would have felt like they have something that they're not willing to kind of shake up the chemistry between him and Godwin and guys like that in Tampa at the time. So who knows? But
yeah, they brought him in to games last year to take shot plays, to throw the deep pass. And I think, that's the one thing that he still did well in Tampa. It was just those passes over the middle and trying to fit the ball in those small windows that get intercepted and those dangerous passes. So you work with a guy like Sean Payton, who I'm a fan of offensively, not really a big head coach guy, but he knows how to dial up plays and he knows how to get into a good rhythm and get you in a good rhythm as a quarterback, because there's no doubt about it. Even the years that the Saints didn't make the playoffs, it wasn't the offense's fault. It was the defense that wasn't any good. The offense and Drew Brees and Sean Payton were still scoring a ton of touchdowns, but the defense wasn't any good. Now that the defense got better, Drew Brees got a little bit older in the tooth. They weren't scoring as many points. And now that you have a younger quarterback that can take those deep shots like Drew Brees used to be able to, you're hoping to rekindle that. So we're going to see what Jameis.
All right, last one here is Kev Nash brings us over under. We'll go to, the NBA. We haven't done the NBA in a while.
Yeah, Caesar Sportsbook put the Nets as the favorites to win the NBA championship and also have them at 44 and a half wins. No, excuse me. Yeah. 54 and a half regular season wins. So over under the win total for KD, Kyrie, and James Harden.
So It's back to an 82-game regular season, correct?
Yes, sir.
So they played 72 games last year. The Nets had won 48 games. Now, you can say they didn't get James Harden until a little bit into the season, but that wasn't the concern. Maybe they have 2 to 3 more wins last year and put them around 51, 52 wins. I think you can go over. The problem is this team, it's tough to guess regular season wins anymore because the regular season doesn't mean squat like it used to these teams. You could say, the fans don't value the regular season, but the fans go as the players go and the teams go. And when you have this abundance of players who are working in, workload days, or what are they called? The load management days or what have you, they're taking games off in the regular season instead of taking practices off. I've never understood that. You need an off day, take a practice day or 2 off. Why do you take the days that you get paid for game days, and yet you're taking those days off, and yet you're practicing the day before? Never understood that. But James Harden, always injured. Kevin Durant always injured. Kyrie always injured, and obviously, kind of out there a little bit. Not very reliable. I just think you're going to have those guys constantly missing games. I do believe that they've come together and united because as long as 2 of them are on the floor at the same time, they have a chance to win a lot of games. Even if you took the only player you can't take off is Durant, but if you take Kyrie or Harden off that team, they're still a 50-plus win team. So I'm going to say over, but again, it just depends on injuries and depends on how many workload days that they're going to take. But I'll say over, but I don't think, there's 10 more games going to be played this year. I don't think that's that far of a stretch. I think definitely the over. The most wins in the Eastern Conference this past year was 49 by the 76ers. The Utah Jazz had 52. And again, 72-game season. You'd have to think that the Jazz would have won 5 more, put them at about 50 if they go 5-5 in those last 10, and the Sixers would have probably won, 3 to 4 more as well. So I think it's safe to say, 54, they'd be right around that win total right there.
I'm going with the over as well, and I'll give you one better. I think they're going to win 60-plus games this upcoming season. James Harden, I actually follow him on Instagram for some strange reason. Maybe it's the clubs that he attends. He actually is in shape right now instead of, wearing a fat suit or whatever he was doing when he was in Houston. So he's in shape right now. KD, according to him, he's bouncing back. His Achilles feels fine, even after playing in the Olympics. So I'm looking for those guys to play a lot of basketball this season, especially KD. He loves to hoop and everything like that. The track record for him, outside of the major injuries he's had, he really doesn't take load management days. So if you got KD on the court, you got a chance. So I'm going to go with the over, and I'm going to say about 62 wins for the Nets.
All right, and that is over under with Kev Nash. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. So earlier today, and I put this out on Twitter, and somehow some weirdo got all mad at me. I don't get it. There's things I do that I know is going to anger people. This one is just one of those where I was just blinking, minding my own business, and some crazy dude going at me on social media. So I was leaving lunch. I went to go get lunch today, and on the way out, saw this dude walking up. I was going to be nice. I held the door open for an extended amount of time. How sometimes there's that awkward distance between the person that's coming in and when you're coming out. You don't just want that impression to be that you let the door slam as they're walking in. So I held the door open. The dude walks right by, doesn't say thank you. Don't know why that irritates me. I say thank you to everybody, everything, no matter what. I'm a yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am dude. Thank you, no thank you. It's annoying. I'm overly polite. Okay. Also drives me nuts is when I'm in, driving on the highway, and I notice that someone needs to get over and no one's letting him in. I purposely slow down to let that person in. But I just want the, hey, acknowledgement, the wave, the what up. I don't even care if it's a middle finger. Just acknowledge that you knew that I let you. So I put out which makes you angrier. So put it on the poll, to go back to the Dan Le Batard days. Put it on the poll, which makes you angrier. Holding the door open for someone who doesn't say thank you, or letting someone get over on a crowded highway, busy highway, and not giving you the acknowledgement of the simple wave. The door to ignore or the wave. Which one makes you angrier? I'll tell you what made somebody angry. Practice squad Matt Muncy got mad at me and said, I don't expect anything in return. He's a holier than thou person. He said he's going to pray for me. And he said that it explains a lot about my personality and yada, yada, yada.
I thought you were going to say that for after the break.
No. So, then he talked about how no one listens to the show and that, my show's no good. I said, so if my show was a football player, it'd be a practice squad player. If my show was a football player, it would be a Bengals preseason cut. You come at me, I'll go at you. I don't care. I'm a child. There you go. That's who I am. So he started it. But what makes you angrier? We'll talk about that on the other side. Plus, the Pac-12 says that they are not going to expand. No expansion for the Pac-12 because they trust that the Big Ten and the ACC won't do it either. Should they trust them? Should anyone? You know that episode of The Office, the hold off where they're all kind of pointing the finger guns at each other? That's what the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 are doing. Someone's going to pull the trigger first, but which conference will it be? And is the Pac-12 kind of stupid for not being willing to go out and expand? Should these conferences expand? This is why I didn't like the idea of the alliance, because I think that someone's going to get screwed over, and whoever gets screwed over, they could be the ones on the outside looking in. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, hot and humid, a high near 92. Tonight will be mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms, a low around 70. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, once again hot and humid, a high near 92. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
You wanted the best? Well, you got the best. The hottest band in the world. Cheers.
Kiss. The end of the road tour. One last Kiss. This Thursday, Wright State's Nutter Center. Kiss on their final tour ever. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. History will be made.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Staples Connect has everything for back to school at amazing prices. Right now, Staples comp books, 2-pocket poly folders, 24-pack Crayola crayons, and 8-pack Pep Rally No. 2 pencils are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school, they'll be first day of school pop quiz ready.
It's showtime.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back to school today and get more than ready for school with amazing prices for everything on your list. Ends 9/18, limit 30, prices may vary online.
It's like I blinked and suddenly all my business shifted to e-commerce.
Now my business hours are whenever my customers need me.
My customers want everything now and faster than ever. It's a whole different world.
Your business is changing. The United States Postal Service is changing with it. We're bringing you fast, reliable shipping nationwide, and we're bringing it right when your customers need it. Let's discover new routes. Visit USPS.com/new routes. The United States Postal Service. Priority, you.
O'Reilly. It's O Rewards Member Appreciation Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts, where you can earn double, triple, even up to 5 times O Rewards points on select purchases. Get bonus points on more than 200 items throughout the store, like wiper blades, fuel system cleaners, motor oil, and more. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, John Glazer here for Glazer Soft Water. We've been making water great since 1988, and no matter what your water issues, we have solutions. Your city water can be clear, but still be hard and have the taste and odor of chlorine. Well water can look, smell, and taste terrible. Glazer Soft Water will fix your water and will even include a 7-year parts and labor warranty, so you don't have to worry. Visit our website to learn more at glazersoftwater.com. Glazer Water really is better water.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager, Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need service, we're here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 6 to 8 and Saturdays from 7 to 5. We proudly offer a state-of-the-art facility with factory-trained technicians, clean waiting room, and service department. Loaner cars are available during service and free alignment checks with any service. Be sure to stop in and ask for our $39.95 oil change special. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, State Route 35, east of 675, between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Buying a car on the internet, this is for you.
Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. If you're buying a car online, here are a few easy steps to keep yourself safe. Just remember CAR. C, contact the seller to confirm their identity. A, assignment, a title free and clear of liens and properly assigned. R, research. Find a way to pay for the car by using a secure method where you can dispute the charge in case of fraud. Call us at 225-4480.
Brought to you by Montgomery County Clerk of Courts, Mike Foley.
Get a king bed for a queen price at Mattress Firm and save up to $500 on top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So starting next week, the Buckeye Roundtable, Paul Keels and Skip Mossick, and of course the whole crew will come together and bring you, of course, the Buckeye Roundtable, talking all things Ohio State football. The first one's next Monday, so we're looking forward to that. But I'll be a part of that show. I'll have a segment on that show each and every Monday where I get to highlight a local high school football player that had a breakout week. We have our high school football game of the week. It's very easy for me to take a player from that and only stick to that. But I need your help. Give me a follow on Twitter at 1410 Kinner, or find the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook and like and subscribe to that. And if you're out and about and you're watching a game and there's a player that's had a breakout night or had a huge, if you want that player from your team to be highlighted, reach out to me and send me some candidates, because every Monday I'll be calling into the Buckeye Roundtable to kind of highlight one of the local breakout stars from whatever week of the high school football season that we are particularly in at that point. So pretty pumped about that. So again, it's easy for me to use a player from our game of the week, but I'm telling you, there's so much talent in the Miami Valley that I need your help. So if you're at a game, watching a game, listening to a game, and there's a player that has caught your attention that's had a breakout game, shoot me a note, find me on Twitter, find me on Facebook, send me which player you believe should be the highlighted player out of the Miami Valley for the Buckeye Roundtable Show with Skip Mossick, Paul Keels, and the gang each and every Monday night at 6 o'clock. So make sure you get that to me. Help me out if you want to highlight a certain player. So there you go. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Speaking of high school football tonight, don't forget, it'll be myself and Keith Byers will be live at Fairmont as they welcome in the Trotwood Rams. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff. You could stream the game at wingam.com, or of course you can tune in to 1410 Wing AM. So I know a lot of our listeners are going to be at that game tonight. A lot of Fairmont fans listen to the show,
as they should.
It's one of the few teams I don't bash, I guess. I don't bash a lot of high school teams. I don't bash high school teams. I don't bash high schoolers. So there's that. Because I act like a high schooler myself. I can relate to them. Very childish. Chad on Facebook reaches out, says, I do honestly think Baker will go out there overconfident because of last season. Plus, he's looking for a big contract. I think he's going to try hard and get away from what his success was last season. Just my opinion. That's fair. But his contract year could kind of force him to play out of character a little bit. Baker could know that heading into the season, if he's going to play that restricted style that Kevin Stefanski had him playing last year, throwing the ball 20 to 25 times, if you're throwing the ball for 200 yards a game, that doesn't have large contract extension written all over it. So I could see how people could think that not just Baker, but any player can go into the whole, I'm going in this for myself. So I could see that point of view. Don't think it's wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen because I'm a homer, of course. But at the same time, you could argue. I mean, look, Josh Allen got his extension, and last year technically was Baker playing for his job. Baker, but he stuck to the plan. He stuck to the restricted style of play. As Kevin Stefanski opened up the playbook and opened up opportunities for Baker, he took those opportunities and ran with them. There's always going to be that thought in the back of my head: Baker going to be Baker. Baker going to turn it over, and turnovers happen. And, in week one, if he throws an interception, it's an interception. It happens. You're going to throw interceptions. Tom Brady threw 14 interceptions last year. Aaron Rodgers threw 14 interceptions. He throws a lot of it. These guys throw interceptions. It's what they do. It's just going to be the timing of the games. Can he lead you in the fourth quarter? He played well in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs. The problem is the defense allowed Chad Henne and the Chiefs to hold the ball for 8 minutes. They went Fairmont. They went Kettering Fairmont on the Cleveland Browns. Baker threw a big time touchdown in that fourth quarter. That's why they punted the ball, or they threw the touchdown. Then they had to punt the ball after that in the next possession. But they felt they were moving the ball real well. They were confident they could move the ball against the Chiefs defense. I even highlighted that. That's why Jason Fitz and I made that bet, because I was confident that the Browns can go at the Chiefs defense. I was also very confident that the Chiefs offense could tear apart the Browns defense. And that's what was going to happen if Patrick Mahomes didn't go out. That wasn't a Baker not showing up on the big stage. Baker played well. They didn't lose that game because of Baker Mayfield. Now, you could sit there and say, well, Baker could have done more. You could say that about any team that's lost. Baker could have thrown for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. They lose by 1. You could say, well, Baker should have thrown 1 more touchdown. You could always move the goalpost as far as I'm concerned. He's not going to throw for 200 a game. They're going to open it up. They're a run-first team, but being the run-first team is what has allowed him to get comfortable in there. I hate that we have 2 more weeks till the season. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the same talks. And Chad's a Bengals fan too, but I like Chad because he is at least coming at me and giving reasons as to why he thinks that Baker will struggle, and I can live with that. He's not childish like me. So I respect you, Chad.
So hold on. You can make a bet with one of the guys from ESPN, our buddy Fitz, but you can't make a bet with one of our great listeners.
To be fair, what did I have to do for Jason? I didn't have to do anything.
Well, I was rooting for you because we were going to go to the draft.
So the draft was in Cleveland. Jason Fitz had made the bet with me that if Cleveland would have beat Kansas City, he was going to take me to the nicest steakhouse in Cleveland. Technically, he didn't say nicest, though. You know Cleveland more than me. I mean, it could have been a Ponderosa or something. I don't even know if a Ponderosa still exists. But it is what it is. But so there you go. I'm pumped for this season. Look, man, like people out there think, too. I saw someone say that, someone tweeted me the other day. Someone said something about Burrow getting hurt, and they tagged me in the tweet and said, I bet you Kinner hopes that happens. You know how ignorant you sound when you say that? I don't hope Burrow gets hurt. I've actually argued that I want Burrow healthy every single game of the season so that when Burrow is healthy for the 2 most important games of the season against Cleveland, I want a healthy Joe Burrow to lose to Baker Mayfield, or as he should call Baker, Dad, because he owns him.
Goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, I love Fridays. Sean Bolin says, I think even if he throws 200 a game but limits the turnovers, he still deserves a big contract. Yeah, but you got to show me I guess Flacco. I don't know what Flacco averaged as far as yards go a game. Flacco got a huge contract. There was a short stint in time that Flacco was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And it was after they won the Super Bowl. But I remember a lot of people were out there saying, man, if you're the Ravens, what are you doing giving Flacco that money? And they ended up, moving on from him quite a few years later, 3 years later, but they moved on from him. It didn't work out after giving him that money. But at the end of the day, if I'm Baker, you're throwing for 200 yards a game and not turning it over, you're going to get a decent extension, but at the same time, your stats have to back it. I mean, you got Lamar, whose stats are off the charts as far as his running ability. The passing stats is what everyone points at. I don't want to get into that conversation again from the other day, but that's why Lamar's the most unique to me, because Lamar Jackson has the MVP. He has a crazy skill set that no other quarterback in the NFL has right now. You could argue Josh Allen's, running ability makes him interesting, but it doesn't come close to what Lamar is. Video game fast, like he's video game talented. And who do you believe has more leverage? When you were out one time, I did this topic. I said, who has more leverage with their front office in getting the extension, Lamar or Baker? Which quarterback has more question marks, or more? They both have question marks, but which one has more concerning question marks, I guess?
Well, since we always talk about those three guys in one lump sum, I would have said that Josh Allen had the most leverage because they haven't seen a quarterback any good since Jim Kelly. And they're starving. I mean, the Bills Mafia just was looking for any type of anybody to take over at the quarterback spot. I know Tyrod led them to the playoffs and everything like that. And for some reason, they thought Peterman was going to be the quarterback of the future and actually benched Tyrod Taylor, who got them to the playoffs and everything like that. I would have said Josh Allen had the most leverage. But since we're just talking about Baker and Lamar, I would say it's Lamar because the whole offense is predicated off of what he does. The passing game and run game. You know, we talked about it ad nauseum about the zone read and how important he is on the zone read. If you're talking about the offensive line and the running backs for the Browns, well, that they're the ones making the run game happen, the offensive line and the running backs. Baker has nothing to do with that unless he's checking into a run. So he has nothing to do with that run game. So I would say Lamar, but you talk about Baker and the 200 yards pass in the game and everything like that. The most important stat out there is winning the game. And if he's engineering victories, they're going to cough up that money as they should.
Where was that mindset with Garoppolo? You weren't a Garoppolo guy, and I used that same line with you, and you shot that down.
Because Baker Mayfield is 10 times better. Baker Mayfield has always been 10 times better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Always?
Yes.
Baker's done some cool stuff like outside of a Cheesecake Factory, but he's never gone on a date with a porn star like Jimmy Garoppolo in public. He wanted people
on the
to
football field. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Let's get it right. Jimmy G is a legend off the field and also has a
different
Super
kind of score.
Yeah. Let me stop disrespecting that man for his off the field antics. I salute him for his off the field antics. Now, the guy that throws a pass in the Super Bowl with his eyes closed, you lost me. Yeah, I can't rock with you no more, man. I can't rock with a guy who throws a pass in the Super Bowl with his eyes closed. I just can't get over that. I know a lot of people talk about the pass that he missed to Emmanuel Sanders that could have potentially put them up in the Super Bowl, and maybe they could have won it and everything like that.
They win. If they complete that, they win that.
I know. Like, that's the one that people go to. I go to the one that he threw with his eyes closed. You literally in the pocket with your eyes closed and throwing the ball. Like, yo, what are you doing? Just take the sack,
he was blinking. He had something in his eye.
It was a long blink.
He was probably winking at porn star Sarah sitting in the stands cheering him on.
Gosh, he closed his eyes and threw a pass in the Super Bowl. I just can't get over that.
So you date porn stars, you don't get to judge Jimmy G.
I'm judging him for his on the field play. And
he wins. He
wins.
You just got done making the argument that winning is all that matters. All he does is win.
He's not the reason why they winning games, man.
But you could say that about any quarterback that throws for 200 yards a game is not the reason their team's winning games.
Baker Mayfield won more games for the Browns last season than Jimmy Garoppolo has won for the San Francisco 49ers, if they went to the Super Bowl. They are two totally different quarterbacks.
There was no
Baker Mayfield, even with low passing numbers, he was asked to make plays on third downs. They were running the ball into the line of scrimmage and punting, letting the defense win the games for them with the San Francisco 49ers because Jimmy G was not trusted by their offensive coordinator, who happens to be their head coach, who got Kirk Cousins paid, who got helped Robert Griffin III win Offensive Rookie of the Year. So a guy that has been known to help quarterbacks and be quarterback friendly, he is not the dude. That's why they went and drafted Lance. That's why they went and got him. That's why they traded everything in the world to jump up to 5 so they can replace him because he ain't that dude.
You know what's going to happen, right? He's your next quarterback.
No, he's not.
No, he is your next dude.
They're not going to go get no Jimmy Garoppolo.
They like Mason freaking Rudolph.
They are not going to
he's
get
a
Jimmy
better
Garoppolo.
Mason. Jimmy Garoppolo is a better Mason Rudolph, who has not had a helmet swung at his head.
Shouts out to him.
Just saying.
He's better than Mason Rudolph off the field for sure.
It's gonna be so funny. It's my early prediction, because porn star Jimmy will be out of San Francisco after this year because they're gonna go with Trey Lance, and then he's gonna be out. Your Steelers are gonna need a quarterback, and it's gonna be so funny watching him in your team at Heinz Field. And congratulations, Joe Burrow won't be the worst quarterback in that division.
I take that bet. I'll take that bet. Will you bet with me?
No, I don't bet with anybody.
Since you want to bet with our great listeners.
But everyone keeps saying, let's bet. Well, you got to come at me with what the bet is going to entail. Like, okay, if I lose the bet, I have to do what? Like, no one comes at me with that. Come at me with that, and then let me turn down what you want out of the bet first.
Oh, man.
Like even Jason Fitz, he said, okay, if the Browns beat the Chiefs, I'll take you to get a steak dinner in Cleveland at the NFL draft.
I was like, cool, man.
So then
simple man.
I said, but Jason, you never asked for anything back in return. And he said, well, he was so confident that the Chiefs would beat the Browns that he didn't even think that far ahead. Well, everyone believes that's the case when they step into a bet.
I'm a simple man, dude. I don't ask for much of bets. It's just the simple fact that I want to have the winning on my side. So we can do something as small as dinner. We can do something as a 6-pack of beer. I know you don't drink beers, but I'll gladly take a 6-pack of Blue Moon. In my return, I take you out for dinner or something like that. Something simple.
Nah.
6-pack of Mountain Dews or whatever soda you drink.
I don't drink soda anymore.
Look at you.
You know, just saying. I'm disciplined now.
Some Aquafina, you know.
With lemon. Water with lemon, baby. That's where it's at. All right. It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash. The bottom line is this. Normally, I would say Lamar Jackson has the most leverage in these negotiations because...
we were talking about that.
But when you look at the fact that the MVP, he has an MVP and still doesn't, and he's still not the first of the three to get a contract. Clearly, there is a lot of question mark. I mean, it should have been a clear-cut thing. The second that the Chiefs didn't even, there was no negotiations with him. It was, all right, what do you want? Okay, boom. That's it. Because they were that confident in him. Lamar, no matter what we could try to defend everything and all that, like, you know, try to defend his flaws and what have you, and try to say, was it because he doesn't have receivers or because he can't? There is clearly enough flaws there that the Ravens have not jumped all over this. He's got him to the playoffs 3 straight years. He's won an MVP. He's won a playoff game. They win the division, and yet they're still dragging their feet on not giving him what he wants. So there's clearly something there. Now, Baker, I think he has more leverage in this situation because kind of like what you talked about with Josh Allen and the Bills, the Browns, who I give Andrew Berry credit, they're not just flying off the rails and giving him what he wants right off the bat because they could do that. I mean, they could be, you know, like that ugly guy that the first hot girl that looks at him, he just gives, you know, here's my credit card, here's my house key, here's this, here's that, you know, just please stay with me, please stay with me. And the Browns aren't doing that. And when you look at the resume of Baker, they technically should, but they're not. And I give them credit for that. Me, as much as I love Baker Mayfield, still has a lot of question marks. Was last year what we saw in that back half? Is that who he really is? Or is it that he played a bad Steelers team twice in a row towards the end of the year? Which I'd like to think that's not the case. Go Steelers. I mean, the better the Steelers are, the better that win over the Steelers at Heinz Field in the playoffs is. So it is what it is. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. Which one of those two gets the deal done first?
Baker. I think that Lamar is going to go through a similar situation that Dak went through. I think there's going to be franchise tag, and ultimately he gets his money. I think that a lot of these dudes don't get what they want.
Ron is gross.
Oh, goodness.
Ron said, Kev, make Justin do the show in a Speedo. What is wrong with you? Who the hell wants to see Kinner in a Speedo? And Ron, why would that be what you pitch? Ron doing it again. Gosh, Ron, come on now.
Yikes. I mean, we saw how long it took Dak to get, you know, his extension. So these things take time, and ultimately he's going to get his contract because, I mean, and Baker's going to get his contract too. They're the going rate. They're going to get the going rate, and the going rate continues to go up. So it's going to be anywhere between $35 and $42 million a season for both of them. Both of them going to get that check, as they should.
All right. Not if you can't throw a football, just saying. You want running stats, get a running back, which you clearly know nothing about since Jerome Bettis and Le'Veon Bell. So I'm just saying. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, they tip their cap to you. We'll be back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We talked about porn star Jimmy. We talked to Lamar. We talked to Baker. We talked to Joe Burrow. We talked a lot. That's what Kinner
talked about Speedos.
Yeah, Ron. Speedo. Me and the Speedo. What is wrong with you, Ron? We'll be back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Are we ready for the 5:30 pickup?
Cam's courier service's newest hire delivered his resignation.
Hey, Ray, who's handling?
She now needs next day shipping on a new driver.
All these boxes here, are they ingoing or are they outgoing?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
In here, there are seasonal savings throughout the Home Depot, so you can get back out there for more doing. In here, it's a Weber Spirit Grill. Out there, it's the dinner bell for your next neighborhood cookout. In here, it's a gallon of exclusive Bear Scuff Defense paint and a Lillard White vanity. Out there, it's a rejuvenated guest bath ready for guests. Get back for more doing with store-wide savings for house-wide doing. Only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Pro football season's here, and pro roofers save valuable time with Beacon Pro Plus. Beacon Pro Plus works 24/7 for material ordering, order history, and automated promotion tracking, so you can get your favorite GAF roofing products even when working remotely. And now, order on Beacon Pro Plus and get a $175 gift card and a chance for a VIP pro football getaway. Gear up and raise your game with Beacon Pro Plus today. Build, score, and win at BECN.com.
Marcus by Goldman Sachs offers personal loans with no fees, ever. Banks offer coffee. So what's more important? A Marcus by Goldman Sachs loan with no fees that could help consolidate debt, or bank coffee that tastes like bank coffee. You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC.
Greatness. It's not born of coincidence. It's not a product of luck. It's forged through dedication, drills, and the acquisition of new skills. Wanting won't get you there, but sweat equity just might.
Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street wants to wish the Dayton Flyers Red Scare the best of luck in their journey through the basketball tournament. Wear red, be loud, go Flyers!
Over the last year and a half, we all learned some hard lessons. One of the most important is that you can't put off the inevitable. Hi, this is Mark Davis at Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery and Mausoleums. No matter how hard it is to think about, we all need a final resting place. When pre-planning with your funeral home, please remember that cemetery arrangements must also be made. Call us today at 937-890-1831 or visit our website at DaytonMemorialPark.com. And remember, Dayton Memorial Park is a beautiful place to celebrate life.
When the doctor told us about my mom's cancer, it made me feel so helpless. Until I called the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and spoke with Grace, who answered all of my questions about the disease, treatment options, and cancer-related expenses. Her support and compassion made us feel whole again. Today, I'm calling Grace to let her know my mom is beating cancer. To learn more, visit lls.org.
Progressive Motorcycle presents
Road Wisdom from the Motor.
Half man, half motorcycle.
In life, there is no stopping.
Don't stop.
But if you do, make sure no one is behind you.
All clear. Progressive Motorcycle also presents basic policy starting at $79 a year. Progressive Motorcycle, for those who were born to ride. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy is not available in all states.
Taco Bell presents a get-out-of-bedtime story. It's time to wake up from this amazing dream, even though you're jet skiing on lemonade. How extreme! And oh, look at that. You just won the lottery. Is that a castle? Take the keys. It's your property. What's better than swimming in space? Just wait for the big reveal. It's Taco Bell breakfast, and it's actually real. So it's time to wake up and bid your dreams farewell, because toasted breakfast burritos are waiting for you, only at Taco Bell. Participating Taco Bell locations near you during breakfast hours only.
Can I get a chair that'll turn my home office into a corner office?
It's possible.
How can I feel as good at the end of the day as I felt at the beginning?
Staples Connect makes it possible with all the innovative tools you need to work from home. And right now, get up to 40% off select chairs. That's up to 40% off chairs that roll, swivel, tilt, and turn. Discover money-saving deals, work from home tips, and inspiration at staplesconnect.com/furniture. Staples Connect, the working and learning store. Ends 8/28 while supplies last. Prices may vary online.
With the excitement of summer activities, let Roosters help keep family dinners as part of your schedule. With menu options to please everyone, from our award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, to salads, pizzas, subs, and more. Let Roosters do the cooking so you can relax, be present, and enjoy time with your family. From our Roosters family to yours, thank you for your support this past year and always. Roosters, a fun, casual family joint.
Get a king bed for a queen price at Mattress Firm and save up to $500 on top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, Kev, so what makes you angrier? I put this poll up on my Twitter account at 1410 Kenner. Give me a follow. At 1KevNash on Twitter as well. So at 1410 Kenner, give me a follow on Twitter. Go answer the poll. Right now, 61% of the voters have said that what makes them more angrier than anything is when you hold the door open for someone and they don't say thank you. So I said, what makes you angrier? Holding the door for someone who doesn't say thank you, or letting someone in traffic, or letting someone over in traffic and then not getting the little acknowledgement wave?
Definitely holding the door for someone without them saying thank you, because it's that interaction. You're doing something very personal for someone, holding the door open for them, and they just walk right in like you didn't just do that. Like, that's very rude. Now, everything in traffic can go crazy because you're in an automobile, but like that interaction and that ability to, here you go, ma'am, or hold it open for sir, and they just don't say anything. I think that's one of the rudest things you can ever do to a person, not say thank you for holding the door open for them.
Yeah. You hear that? So again, one more time on Twitter. So 59% of the voters agree with that holding up the door. So I put door and ignore. When you hold the door open for someone and they don't acknowledge it, they don't say thank you. And by the way, I checked today. The dude I held the door open for as I was leaving the restaurant, picking up my lunch, to see if he had like headphones in or something. What? Actually, no, screw that. You have eyes. You could see the fact that I held the door open for you. That didn't keep you from, never mind. I was trying to be all like, oh, well, maybe you trying to play back. Maybe he was just, no, you don't need to. No. That door didn't just open up automatically for you. I opened it up for you. So, but I road rage, Kev. I'm all about road rage too. No. So I see. So someone on Twitter said, he goes, rude ass beat to not acknowledge. Huh? I'm assuming he's talking about letting someone get over and then not doing the acknowledgement wave.
But sometimes even that, like, you might not even see that they did it.
Oh no, my eyes, Kev, are locked. I look for the silhouette. I see the fade. The window. I know what you're saying, but no, it doesn't matter too if your hand's on the steering wheel and you put the little pointer finger up. No. Hand up, like
goodness,
like you're trying to answer that question.
Roll the window down.
The ooh guy. Ooh, I know. If you're not that guy or gal in the car when someone lets you over, you are a fill in the blank with the word that the FCC won't let me say. I'll let you guys be creative. It's a Friday. I'm letting everybody be in on the action. But 59% of the people say holding the door open for someone, and then they don't say thank you. That ticks them off the most.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's where I'm at. See, I like to do the whole. As I notice they're not going to say thank you, I'll let go of the door so that maybe it clips the back of their heel. And then I say, oh, my bad. Oops. Like, oops. Oh, no, it's the, oh. When I go walk by somebody, I'm like, oh. So there you go. But yeah, someone got mad at me today because I posted that. It doesn't make any sense. This dude just doesn't like me, which is fine. Matt Muncy, he gets all mad at me. He said that doing the right thing shouldn't require some type of strings attached in order to do. Oh, God, gotta love holier than thou guys like this. I mean, he's never been rude to anybody except me on Twitter. Says this explains a lot about your Twitter and on-air demeanor.
I don't think rude has anything to do with it.
So I told him to go after himself.
Oh, goodness.
No, I didn't. I'm joking.
I think it's just something like if you're going to do something courteous for someone, you should get it in return. Do unto what others done to you. You know what I'm saying? Pass along kindness. Open the door for somebody. Thank you. Like, that's just common courtesy.
There you go.
It's just common courtesy. Like, that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Real quick before we go to the next segment, U.S. women's under 16 team has no problem in qualifying game. They beat Costa Rica 121-12.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Women's under 16 basketball team had no problem in the qualifiers in the FIBA championships. U.S. won 112-12.
Is Rocky Rockhold the head coach of that team? And no, that was not a shot at Rocky. I remember a few years ago getting getting annoyed that Trotwood was like blowing out teams like 120 to like 20 or 40. They were beating teams by like 90. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And of course, I was mouthier back in the day, believe it or not. Rocky was not happy with my comments, so I had to apologize. And I did. I acknowledged I was wrong. Especially when I watched how good Trotwood was at the state tournament. And they were playing a team that looked like they had them beat. But Trotwood won because they literally ran the brakes off of them because Trotwood wasn't tired. And he has them play hard from game one all the way to the very end because he's like, we're going to be our team's in shape. We will not lose because we're fatigued or tired. And so when I watched them win, that was with Amari Davis, when they won that state title that year, I forgot who they were playing, but the team that they were playing was up pretty much the whole game. Everyone thought Trotwood was going to lose.
Was it St. V?
No, that was with Torrey
Patton.
Patton years ago. That was a heck of a game. Torrey Patton had like 30 plus points. But with Trotwood that year, I told him I was wrong. I admitted that I was way wrong on that because now I see why you keep your starters and now I see why you keep playing from beginning to end no matter what, because it's about keeping them prepared for the games that matter down the stretch. They won that state title that year that they were losing in most of the game because they didn't have their hands on their hips. They weren't tired. They weren't leaning over trying to gasp for air. They were just coming at them left and right, forcing turnovers, and that's how they won. So I acknowledged I was wrong. Kenner doesn't do that often, but Rocky Rockhold, shout out to him. I was wrong. He was right. So there you go. Doesn't happen often. Hour 3 coming up next. Don't forget, folks, the Buckeye Roundtable on Monday. If you're out and about at a high school football game this weekend and you see a player that just goes off, tweet me that player's name, Facebook me that player's name so I can look it up. I go on the Buckeye Roundtable with Paul Keels and Skip Mossick, and I have to highlight a player here from the Miami Valley. I don't want to be selfish. I don't get to see all the games around here. There's way more eyes and ears out following these games than me, so I need your guys' help. Nominate players, send them to me so I could check out the performances, and I'll pick the best one. And when I'm on the Buckeye Roundtable show on Monday night after our show, I want to make sure we highlight as many of the kids here locally as possible. So help me, help you, help them. Hour 3 coming up next. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Say thank you when someone holds the door open for you, and wave when they let you over in traffic.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.